All right, everyone. This is G-Ron and B-Ron here with the Yeast Lords Auburn versus Georgia Rivalry Week video cast. Deep South's oldest rivalry. We are here representing the Yeast. T-Lon could not join us. We don't know where he is. G-Ron, do you know where he is?
I never know where he is. I don't think he knows where he is half the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, apparently T-Lon had all these files on this game that were going to help predict who the winner of this game is, but I don't, Americans, people confused about voting and what to do, they don't know where these files are. T-Lon's really letting the nation down.
I know T-Lon definitely has a table that he's waiting for him at Twin Peaks, but he just never shows up.
Yeah,
So maybe
I
one day
know.
he'll get him. I doubt it.
Well, without much further ado, we're going to continue this Yeast Lords pick 'em without T-Lon and C-Lon. And, G-Ron, just kind of wanted to get your opening take. I mean, the game's different month this year, different, all this COVID stuff. And just for context here, G-Ron, he is an Auburn fan. B-Ron, that's myself. I'm a Georgia fan. So, G-Ron, what's your opening take on this game?
My opening take is there are probably three likely scenarios that will happen. It will be a big Georgia victory. It will be a close Georgia victory, or it will be a close Auburn victory. Those are the only three likely scenarios.
No Auburn
Been around
blowout in the mix.
No. 2017 is the outlier of the Deep South oldest rivalry. I've been, I've seen plenty of these in 2017 and 2004. Those are the only, 2000 when Ben Leard was there. That was a pretty big blowout. But that's three over the last 20 years. That's the outlier. That's not going to happen. That's not likely to happen. How about that?
Yeah, so no, I I agree with you. Um, just going down that path, coach most likely to eat at an Arby's drive-through.
SEC coach or Auburn coach?
I'd say Deep South's oldest rivalry coach, current or past, coach most likely to eat at an Arby's
Okay.
drive-through.
Jim Donnan.
Jim Donnan. Wow.
He
G-Ron
probably
taking it
he
back
probably did
to
it.
the late 90s.
He probably ate there three times this week so far.
That's a great answer. I'm gonna go with Ray Goff because I don't know much about him. So either way,
Terry Bowden. It wouldn't surprise me if Terry Bowden ate at an Arby's. Wouldn't surprise me if he worked at an Arby's.
well, no, I think Terry Bowden probably went into the Arby's. I'm thinking that Goff or Donnan went through the drive-through.
Mm. Or Terry Bowden went into the Arby's, changed his mind, and drove across the street to Sonic. That could have happened.
That's true. Yeah,
He strikes me more
I've
as
never
a
thought
foot-long
about
Coney
it that
type
way.
guy. Yeah. He strikes me as a foot-long Coney kind of guy.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, do you remember when Terry Bowden like bleached blonde his hair at Akron or somewhere like that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was actually probably when he gained the most weight.
Yeah. So, going on with this Sonic and Arby's drive-through, Auburn or Georgia player, current or past, most likely to deflate the floats at the lazy river at a water park.
Ooh. This is a good one. See, I have several answers, and for some reason, they're all quarterbacks. Like, I could see Aaron Murray doing it and blaming it on somebody else. I could see Chris Todd doing it and bragging to all the girls that he did it. I could see Joe Cox peeing in the lazy river. I don't know why. I just keep thinking of quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't
It
know.
just
I
seems like
guess
a quarterback thing to do.
the first thing that came to my head was Daniel Cobb.
Oh, that's a good one. I forgot about Daniel Cobb. Golly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he sucked in that game.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, maybe him or Jeff Klein. I'm not sure.
Jeff Klein would have tripped and thrown a pick on his way into the lazy river. He wouldn't have gotten to the floats.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that Mark Rick would have been the lifeguard watching this, but we don't. I think Daniel Cobb,
He would have been the lifeguard that never stopped it.
right, exactly. And I could be wrong, but I think Daniel Cobb was actually from Georgia, so that ties further into this rivalry. That
I can't remember. The only game I remember him in is the one against Florida. That was the only good game he ever had.
well, I think
So,
that game Auburn had 94 total yards and they beat Florida somehow.
I do remember. So the year after that would have been 2003. That was my first trip to Athens for the Deep South Oldest rivalry.
Yeah, that
I've
game
seen
was
plenty in
not
Auburn.
close. That was 26-7,
No,
I believe.
no, it was bad. It was bad. An old lady barked at me the entire way out of the stadium, and
Yeah,
I was
well,
15.
since you bring up the old lady barking, team Georgia Auburn, past or present, most likely to install one of those thermostats in their home that can have all these automated settings. What are they called? Nest?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Team or coach or player?
Yep. Team, coach, play, any personnel of either. And I think I have the absolute perfect answer for this one, but I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
It's got to be Gus because it's kind of gimmicky. Like you don't need it. You know what I'm saying? So my first thought is Gus, but I'd be curious to hear what your answer is.
Well, mine was Brian Van Gorder. He was, if for those of you who don't remember, he looked like Uncle Rico. He was Georgia's defensive coordinator when Mark Richt first started coaching the Dogs in the early 2000s, and then I think what was he at Auburn for like 1 or 2 years
One,
after the Falcons,
a
I
very brief,
believe. And so I
a
just feel
very
like
brief
that
one.
guy is constantly turning it hot and cold. Like I said, he's
That's a
Uncle
good point.
Rico.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How about this? How about this for a question? Deep South's oldest rivalry, current or past player, coach, or team most likely to not miss their grandmother's cooking. So everyone loves their grandmother's cooking. Which one is not worried about missing their grandmother's cooking?
You said team, coach, any of it, right?
Yeah, any of it.
Uh, I would probably say David Pollock. David Pollock was huge at Georgia. If you look at him on game day, it's like he's lost 400 pounds. So,
Isn't that what always happens to those guys? They quit playing football and they stop bulking up, and then they turn into twigs.
no, I mean, David Pollock stopped eating his grandma's cooking.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Or he started and he just doesn't like it, so he didn't eat as much.
That's
Because
true.
somebody.
Or his grandma had a late life crisis in which she only eats plants now.
It's possible because you got to think somebody's grandma out there can't cook. Like not everybody's grandma can cook. So you have to kind of feel like, all right, here's David Pollock. He went from like 260, 270 down to $190. Like the dude stopped eating. Why did he stop eating? Maybe his grandma can't cook. And now he's got more time to go to his grandma's house. Like he just doesn't want any of it.
Yeah, well, I think we've convinced the universe now that it is David Pollock's grandma that did this. But I mean, who were you? Were you thinking David Pollock? Who was your answer?
I didn't have one. I wanted to see what yours was because I didn't really have one. But
But
that's
I've
actually
now
the best
convinced you
answer I've
that it
heard.
is David Pollock.
Yeah, David Pollock's grandmother cannot cook.
David Pollock's David Pollock's grandmother is the Deep South's oldest vegetarian.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, I can get on board with that too.
So yeah,
Either way, he's hungry.
he's definitely hungry. I mean, speaking of game day, game day's in Athens this weekend. Kirk and Fowler calling the game. So, final question is, which is kind of the prediction, our thoughts on the game. What's that final line that Fowler is saying at the end of this game? Who does he say is winning? What's the takeaway from the game?
On Chris Fowler,
Yep.
considering he doesn't host game day anymore.
And this is him. He's actually announcing the game. So.
Okay. I'm sorry. Who does he think? Who does Chris Fowler think is winning the game? I don't know. I kind of feel like Chris Fowler likes to go with the popular pick. He's not really an against the grain type guy. He went to Colorado, I think, so he doesn't really know a whole lot about football. Plus, he likes tennis a lot. He'll probably just go with Georgia because they're the home team.
Yeah,
I think he thinks Georgia wins by 10 or more.
I was gonna say, I was thinking Rafael Nadal myself because I think he was gonna get a little confused with what sport he was watching. So I was gonna go with Nadal. But for all those eagerly waiting for Giron and Biron's picks, I'll go ahead and lead with mine. Giron, I think this is like one of the most unpredictable Deep South's oldest rivalry we've ever seen because we're not used to it being the second week of the season. And if any of you watched our offense, Georgia's offense last week, it didn't look very apparent that they could even beat Arkansas last week. My gut tells me that Kirby is playing a bunch of games. I think JT Daniels could have been cleared last week, but for whatever reason, he didn't play. I think you're going to see a very different Georgia team this week. I think it's going to be a very close game, and I think being at home, Georgia's defense, I have a lot of faith in. I think Georgia's going to edge Auburn. We're talking like 21-17, very close victory is what I'm predicting.
That's fair. And I'm really not that far away from you. I think it's going to be an ugly first half. I think it's going to be a one-score differential going into halftime. I don't know which way, but it's going to be a one-score differential going into the half, and it will have been a really ugly first half. I think out of the gate, Gus's offense is going to stall because it just always seems to in big games, and then it gets going in the third, fourth quarter. I'm a homer, so I've got to pick Auburn, but it's got to be close.
Yeah.
It's going to be a 3-point game to me.
Yeah. See, what's interesting is I agree on paper with your three scenarios of either a Georgia blowout, a Georgia close win, or an Auburn close win. But if I'm going to be honest, if I see either team blowing the other out, I would honestly pick an Auburn blowout. And the reason being is Bo Nix has a year under his belt. He's experienced. If Georgia's offense doesn't get going and it takes Stetson Bennett the fourth going all game, I don't see it. And I could see if Auburn gets going any kind of bit early, I think they'll keep their foot to the metal, and I could see Georgia being the one who got blown out if there was a blowout.
Yeah, I think Auburn obviously thrives in chaos. Like any given year, any given team. If it's a chaotic year, that benefits us. I think the fact that it is the second game, if you look at Georgia historically, even with Mark Richt, they always kind of fumble around in the first 3 or 4 games. And then by the 5th or 6th, they get it put together. And then by the 10th game, they're playing us and they're beating the brakes off of us. So it definitely behooves Auburn to play this game the second game of the year. And being a chaotic year, maybe something chaotic can happen. I wouldn't put my money on it, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. I still predict a close Auburn victory because I have to choose Auburn because I'm a homer.
Totally get it.
And that's what I want. And that's what I want to have happen. So I'm going with close game.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's our music. Our advertisers have cut us off. we will see you next time. We may be doing other games this season. So if you like
Maybe
this,
T-Lon will come. And T-Lon
then
will come.
comment and demand T-Lon join next time. So because I don't know where he is.